Hi, welcome to episode 2 of Dominion Tips and Tricks. I'm Sasha.
I'm Matt.
And so in today's episode we're covering the Intrigue expansion to Dominion. Intrigue is themed around choices. Giving yourself choices, giving your opponents choices with cards like Torturer, where they have to choose one of two bad options. In order to evaluate the best and worst cards in a deck full of choices, we need to understand some principles about choices and game theory. So in a game like chess or Go or any other game of strategy, usually the best move is going to be the one that eliminates the most opponent options. You want to force your opponent into a narrower and narrower set of responses. And conversely, you want to make sure you have a wide range of responses at any time. Limiting choices of your opponent is always better, and increasing your own choices is always better. And if you're not convinced, Matt has a mathematical proof of that.
First, I must define.
So we know that it's always better to limit your opponent's possible choices and to increase your own. But how can we apply that kind of knowledge from an abstract game like chess or Go to a game like Dominion, a card game? Well, I'll give you an example of how we can use that to evaluate which card is better or worse. So just for an example, take the pawn card. Pawn has 4 different options: a +1 action, +1 card, +1 buy worth a currency, and you pick any 2 of them. So if you do the math of the different ways you can arrange that, there are 6 different options when you play pawn. So every time you play pawn, you can think of yourself as having gained 6 options. And conversely, you've harmed your opponent because they can't limit your options now. You have 6 more than you had a minute ago. So pawn, we could say, has a value of +6 choices when it's played. That's okay, but we can do a lot better with the cards on the table. Let's take a look at how we can use that sort of logic to easily figure out which of these are the best and worst cards in the Intrigue expansion. So which card is the best in terms of limiting opponent choices or increasing our own? Well, the answer may surprise you. The best card is Wishing Well. So Wishing Well is a very simple card. You draw 1 card, gain 1 action, so it replaces itself, but then you may name any card, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's the one you named, you add it to your hand. This is a really big deal because you can name any card, and we're going to be conservative and we're going to limit it just to what's in this particular game. So there's 17 unique cards here that you could be naming that you might have in your deck. Every time you play Wishing Well, you're gaining 17 options. But more importantly, because it gives you +1 card, +1 action, you can chain Wishing Wells into themselves. So 1 Wishing Well is 17 options. But if you have a hand full of Wishing Wells, your options at this point, when you combine the different ways you might match up your guesses, is 17 times 17 times 17. And pretty fast, you're looking at a turn that's out of control in terms of your number of possible plays. So in order to give you an idea of how strong of a card Wishing Well can actually be, Matt and I have had a game here where he's bought a bunch of Wishing Wells and he's got kind of a Wishing Well engine going on. So let me just show you how one of his turns looks once it's up and running with Wishing Well. Matt, go ahead and take a turn.
First, I'm going to play a village. Pick up the village. Oh, picked up that instead. However, I do have my Wishing Wells, so I play Wishing Well.
Okay, so he draws a card, and now he also gets to wish for another card. We've got 17 options on the board here, so just with that, he's got 17 new choices appearing just from the wishing aspect of the well.
Okay, I'm going to wish for my best card, which is Wishing Well. Indeed, I got Wishing Well.
So on top of that, in addition to his choices, he gets an extra card, but the choices are the important thing here.
Alright, well, I play the Wishing Well. Pick up a card.
And now, having done 2 Wishing Wells, he had 17 choices the first time, and now he's got 17 the second time, but the total number of combinations he could have done for his turn in like completeness is 17 times 17. So he's up to 289 choices with just 2 Wishing Wells. So I'm going to struggle to keep up no matter what I do on my turn.
Okay, I'm going to wish for a trading post. It's Coppersmith. So it goes back on top. But I have another Wishing Well, so I play Wishing Well.
3rd Wishing Well, now he's up to like almost 5,000 options.
And now I'm going to wish for Wharf. Oh, indeed, I got Wharf. Alright, I have 1 more Wishing Well in my hand. So I'm going to play Wishing Well.
Almost 100,000 options at this point.
Now I'm going to guess Wharf again. Oh, indeed, I did get Wharf. And now I'm all out of wishing wells, so I'm going to first play Wharf, which allows me to pick up 2 cards. And my only other action card is Coppersmith, so I will play Coppersmith. Now this allows me, with the copper I have, which is 4, Coppersmith doubles it to make it 8. I get 2 buys. Obvious choice here is 2 wishing wells.
2 wishing wells. So now Matt's added even more wishing wells to his engine. On my turn, the best I can do is buy a gold or a province, but in terms of number of options, he's going to be way ahead of me. So as you can see, in order for me to win, I got to limit Matt's options. There's no way I'm going to do that. With these wishing wells, with another 5th wishing well in his chain, he'd be at like 1 million options a turn. I can't constrain him to a set of choices where he has to lose. There's no way to checkmate Matt, so in this position, I would have to resign. Good game, Matt.
Good game.
Wishing well. So, let's see what the worst card is in the Intrigue expansion. So, as we saw, it's good to give yourself options, bad to give your opponents options. How about a card that gives out a ton of opponent options? The card I'm talking about is Masquerade. Draw 2 cards, that's not important. And then everyone passes 1 card to the player on their left, and you can trash the one you get, but I don't understand why you would want to trash it. Let's just get to what that does in a 4-player game, and you'll quickly see why this card is unacceptable. So, I don't know why they include rules for 4 players. It's kind of a ridiculous number of people to get in one place, but let's just assume you're having a game of 4-player Dominion as per the rulebook. Matt's going to play all 3 of my opponents, and now I play Masquerade. So watch what happens. I pick a card to pass. It's set aside here. Now, this player gets 5 choices, 5 cards. He picks which one he's going to pass. Ton of options handed out. Now this player gets 5 choices. A ton of cards he's going to pass, so many selections he can make. Now this player makes 5 choices, and so on and so on. There's a huge amount of options going around here. So, and then, in the end, I've given more actions to my opponents than I've gotten for myself. So clearly this card is bad. You're actually making a net loss when you play it. And that's why Masquerade is the clear worst card in Intrigue. It would be overpriced at 0. And if you ever play Masquerade, you have committed a grave mistake. It would be like letting your opponent take an extra turn in chess. You've given them more options. Don't do it! So as we saw in today's episode, you always want to increase your options, limit your opponent's options, and that means the best card is Wishing Well, the worst card is Masquerade for the Intrigue expansion. See you next time.